right. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the October Schoolnet webinar using Schoolnet in Canvas. I am so thrilled that you are here with us on a Monday. I appreciate you taking time out of your day. I'm going to post the bit.ly in the chat, and I do want to let everyone know that we are recording. But if possible, since I do not have my normal co-host, if someone would mind putting in the chat if you can hear me okay. I want to make sure my sound is working. Thank you very much. Awesome. Okay. All right. So I am going to cut my video just since I am running everything today, but I will pop back on in just a little bit. Let me hide that. All right, so I have the bit.ly in there. If anyone joins afterwards, hello. I will try to continue to post it in there every so often or ever so often because I know that anyone that joins in later won't have access to the chat. So, all right, well, let's go ahead and get started. It is now 3:31. And let me just give you a quick introduction. Normally we have Catherine Simone here with us. She is the implementation manager for Pearson, and her email address is right here. She was unable to make it today. She is usually on all of our Schoolnet webinars. So if you have attended any in the past or you plan on attending any in the future, Catherine will be on those calls with us. She is a great resource and always so willing to help. Her email address is right here on the screen. So please take note of that for any questions that you might have with Schoolnet. And my name is Rebecca Stokes. I am the product manager, and I just realized that I didn't put the products up here. So I'm the product manager for Schoolnet and newly Canvas as well. So originally when I had planned this session, it was going to be with Dr. Corey McNeil, who was the Canvas product manager at the time. But since then, I have absorbed Canvas as well. So you just have me today. So we're going to be talking about how you can use Schoolnet within the Canvas platform. But my email address is here as well. I know that everyone has a district lead and backup for Schoolnet within their PSU or charter, but please feel free to email this email address right here with any time that you have a question, or if there's something going on with an assessment and you just need to get it out to your students quickly. If your lead is maybe absent that day or just happens to be busy, please feel free to reach out. I'm happy to help with anything with Schoolnet or Canvas that you might come across. All right, and I'm going to, oh, thank you, Lori, for posting that in there. I greatly appreciate that. I was just about to post it, but I appreciate you doing that for me. All right, so let's go over a few housekeeping items. The first one is about CEUs. So you get zero point 0.1 CEUs for every live webinar of mine that you attend. So that is equal to 1 hour of credit. And just remember that 10 hours of credit equals 1 CEU. So you will get zero point 0.1 today for being in attendance with us. And sometimes people will ask, well, is this a digital credit or is this a general? That is completely up to your PSU or your charter. So you will receive an email of the CEU certificate with the session about a Schoolnet webinar and the date with your name, and then you will turn it in to your district following all of your district protocols for CEUs, and they actually decide what type of credit it is. So I cannot decide that, unfortunately, but your district will. And how will you receive this credit? So you must be logged into the live webinar using the link, which obviously you all are, or you wouldn't be in here. And at the end of the session, I will post a feedback link, and you'll fill that feedback link out, and it will automatically email you a CEU certificate. And if you have anyone in your building that couldn't make it today and they go back and watch the recording, just know that we cannot give credit for the watching the recording, only if you are in the live session with us, okay? But all of you clearly are in here with us, so we appreciate that, and we'll make sure that you get those CEUs after the session. All right. At any time that you have any questions, please use the chat. It is not going to allow you to unmute, but you can enter your questions in the chat. And I will try and pause and check for any questions throughout the session since Catherine is not here with us today to monitor the chat. So I'll try to make a mental note to check periodically, but if I forget, then we will definitely get those questions answered by the end of the session. Okay, I think that's all for housekeeping. But of course, thank you for being here. I appreciate you spending your Monday afternoon with me. Okay, so let's jump right in to using Schoolnet within Canvas. So usually when we are in Canvas, we're in our modules creating assignments or tasks for our students to complete, but a lot of people are unaware that you can actually embed a Schoolnet assessment for students to take as well. So usually students will log into their NCED Cloud and click on the Schoolnet icon and take their Schoolnet assessment that you created that way, which is still perfectly fine. But if you're already in Canvas as your learning management system, then you can actually post those assessments within that platform so students don't have to leave the platform to then log into Schoolnet to take the assessment. They can take them right from Canvas. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So the first step is to create your Schoolnet assessment. So I am going to go to Schoolnet and hop right into a training account. And I am going to have to hop back and forth between the slide deck and the training site because there's some features in the training site that I don't have that we normally have in production. So I'll kind of be flipping back and forth. But over on the left-hand side, let me make this a full window. Okay, on the left-hand side, we're going to go to our assessments just like we normally would, and we're going to go to create, and we're going to create a manual assessment. And there's a few things to remember if you know that you are going to want to post this assessment into Canvas. So we have to name it. So let's just say this is going to be a Canvas test for math. And then I would go through and choose all of my subjects and grades levels like normal. We'll say 6th grade. And I still have to choose my standards. Okay. Now, one thing that you want to make sure of, hi Sandra, is you want to make sure that the test category is listed as a My Classroom assessment. If you are going to post it in Canvas, it needs to be My Classroom. But sometimes that gives questions to people who might create shared classroom assessments, or they might create assessments for others in their grade level. You, of course, can still do that, but I would recommend doing it and adding those other members of your grade level as a co-author. So then you each can make copies that you then would make My Classroom assessments if you're going to post it into Canvas. Okay, so that's just one recommendation. We want to keep all of this the same. I'm going to keep my score type at total score. That is important. You want to make sure that that stays total score. All right, and then if I go to my defaults, if I knew with this being a math test that I wanted there to be a calculator to show, then I could still check it here, just like normal with our Schoolnet assessments. My settings, I want to make sure that I turn on those accommodations if I have students that have those turned on in their profile. And one thing to make note of is if the student has the accommodations turned on in their profile and it's turned on in the test, then they will still see those accommodations in Canvas. Just because Canvas itself does not offer certain accommodations with their quizzes, does not affect the Schoolnet quizzes. So they will still get the same accommodations that they are used to receiving with Schoolnet assessments, even if they are taking it in Canvas. So let's scroll down. Okay, so my restrictions, just want to keep in mind what these restrictions mean. So remember that no restrictions means that students can access the questions and answer choices after the test, even like right after they submit it. So if you don't want your students to be able to see the questions and answers and possibly share those with others that might be in your future classes, then I would make sure that this is not on no restrictions. Personally, As a former classroom teacher, I always chose to restrict access to the questions and answer choices, but instead of making it always, I always did before the end date. So this way my students could go in and do test corrections after the test window was up, but they couldn't log back into the test and see those questions and answers until that window was closed. And that would be the same in Canvas. You're going to have that same testing window. And here is that co-author setting. Like I was saying, if you were wanting to create this for other people in your grade level, you could add them as co-authors, and then each of you make your own copies of My Classroom versions of the assessment in order to deliver it in Canvas. Okay, so I'm going to generate my test and use questions from the item bank. So all of this should be familiar. And here I can go through and select the questions. I'm just going to do like a 5-question assessment. Now, normally I would want to come over and select my standards, of course, but since this is just an example, I'm just going to go through and select 5 questions. And I can see in my little shopping cart here that I've got my 5 questions. And I'm going to add those to my test. Okay. So just like in the traditional setup of a Schoolnet assessment, this is where I can go through and preview my assessment. I can click right here and preview this as what a student would see. And this is a really good preview to see what it's going to look like for the students in Canvas as well. Let's see, I want to make sure, yeah, I should be sharing. If I am not sharing the student view, please let me know in the chat, but I believe that it is. Because when the students are taking the assessment in Canvas, it's going to open a pop-up window and it's going to look exactly like this, just like it would in Schoolnet. It's going to look the exact same in Canvas. So the view does not change for them, but we can go through and see what the students would see. And just a note, if the student had accommodations, they would show right over here on the right-hand side as icons with like a speaker if they were getting read aloud, or a magnifying glass for some, I think it's the line magnifier. And I don't remember the icons for the other ones, but just know that they're going to be here on the right-hand side. And if a student has them turned on in their profile and they don't see them here, check to make sure that the window is not zoomed past 100, because sometimes that has been an issue where the window was so zoomed that they actually didn't see the accommodations on the right-hand side. But I can go through, I can preview all of my questions. All that looks great. And I need to shrink it down just so I can go back here. There we go. Okay. And here I can make sure that I, as the teacher, agree with the correct answer, with the explanation if there is one, and preview all of those questions. Oh, Lori, you're my hero. Thank you again for posting that bit.ly for me. So just like we traditionally would with Schoolnet assessments, all of that remains the same. Okay. All right. So I didn't make any changes, but just out of habit, I always like to save. Okay, so I am ready for this test to be published and to deliver it to my students. So I'm going to click Finalize Test. And this is where the change is going to occur. So when you go to Schedule, we're going to pick our start date. Now I'm in the training site, which means all of my dates are in 2022. So just ignore the fact that this is not 2023, okay? But you might want to write down your start and end date just for the testing window, because you're going to want to make sure that your Canvas assignment has that same testing window and end date, okay? So you can still prevent them from launching the test before the start date. But one thing you might notice that's missing, right underneath where it says test results and scoring, there's an option here that I don't have in the training site that says share with Power Teacher Pro Gradebook. you want to make sure that you do not do that, because if you are posting it in Canvas, you're going to want to use the grade pass back. So you don't want to check the Power Teacher Pro sync here, because it will actually cause an error and your grades won't sync if you're trying to do both. So if you are simply using Schoolnet, then you can of course use that sync that's located right here above this option to sync those grades. But if you know you are posting this in Canvas, then do not check that box, okay? You can still choose if you want students to access these results, if you don't want them to see the results until after the end date. And we're not going to worry about the answer sheets. Another important step that is it a secure browser? In Canvas, is it a secure browser? Is that what you're asking? Looking in the chat to make sure that I'm understanding your question. Because Schoolnet itself, okay, I see it. So yes, I would say Schoolnet itself has the secure tester, which you are referring to there. If you are using it in Canvas, then it is not a secured browser unless you have a program. I know there are some programs that work with Canvas to make assessments within Canvas be secured, but if you were strictly just using Canvas and you did not have an additional secure browser program, then no, it is not a secure browser. Perfect question. Thank you for asking that. Because it is separate from using the secure tester in Schoolnet. This one is just through Canvas. But I know some districts do have a program that will lock down the browser that they use within Canvas. So it just kind of depends on your district and what they have. But great question. Trying to think. Oh, I think I was right here at assignments. So often this step gets skipped. I'm not sure how, but it does. A lot of times, a lot of the problems with assessments or with data missing from your students' profiles, it's because it's not assigned. So you still want to make sure that you assign the test so that the program knows what students are supposed to be taking this test, so it knows where to send that data. So I'm going to add in these fake classes. I think they said third grade, so these third grade students are going to have a hard time with the sixth grade math test. So I've assigned that. And now here is where I'm going to have to hop back to the slide deck, okay? If your district has installed the Schoolnet LTI in Canvas, then you will see an option right here that says allow educators to link this to Canvas. And it looks like, let me go back here. I've got to skip ahead a few slides because we've already covered all of this. And in the slide deck, I included, a really in-depth look at creating Schoolnet assessments, just in case you are a beginner with Schoolnet. So I went really in depth with those instructions there. Let's see. This is the slide I'm looking for. Okay, so underneath test access where that code is, if your district has linked Canvas and Schoolnet together, then you will see this option here that says allow educators to link the test to Canvas. If you do not see that, then that means that your district has not set up the Schoolnet LTI. Okay, so if that is the case and you are interested in using your Schoolnet assessments in Canvas, then I would email whoever your Canvas admin is for your district and request that they do this. It's a very simple process. They just have to add that as an external tool, and I can explain to them how they can get that secret code and everything. If you are in this session with us and you are the Canvas admin for your district, then all you have to do is submit a ServiceNow ticket to Pearson. You can ask your Schoolnet lead to do that if that's someone different, and request the secret code and password. So it's very easy installation. You just have to have that from Schoolnet and they will be happy to send that to you. And then your teachers can post their Schoolnet assessments in Canvas. But If you are with us and you already see this option, then you would check this box right here, okay? And you are going to want to write down this passcode, copy it, paste it in like a notepad or a Google Doc or something if you're going to be using the copy feature on something else, but you want to make sure that you have this right here. Um, and before we move on, let me go back to Schoolnet. I really wish that window would move over. There we go. Okay, so we're gonna pretend that I have that option here and that I would have checked the use this in Canvas icon right here. You can also still check if you want to allow only assigned students to take the test. And what this means is that only the students that are within these 4 sections or however many sections you assigned this to are going to be the ones that can take this test. If you don't check that box, then any student from any class could find your code, take the test, even though their data wouldn't show for you if they're not within your class, they could still see the questions, see the answers, write them down, take a TikTok, whatever it is the young kids are doing these days, and give it to other students. Excuse me, did not mean to cough in your ear. So I do recommend always checking that box just in case. You never know what students are doing, so I always want to check that box so then only the students in these assigned sections can take the test. You can still restrict the test access to specific days and times. You can also still track the item features with tracking and displaying. You can still scramble the question order. I never recommend scrambling the answer choices just because, especially if you have checklist items, it can really mess up how the data looks. So I always just recommend scrambling the question order. So you can still keep all of these same features that you would normally put on your Schoolnet assessment. So I am going to click Save and Publish. Okay, so here is my passcode. I can get that copied here, and please ignore that my test says completed. Since I'm in the year 2022 here, it looks like my students have already taken and completed the test, whereas yours would say scheduled, and then once that test window opens, then it would move to in progress. But we want to take this code right here, and we're going to hop over to Canvas. Okay, and I am in my course, and I'm going to come down. I made a little Schoolnet module. There we go. So if this was the module that I wanted to post this assessment, then all I would need to do is to create an assignment, give it a name. I would name it the same thing that our test was, but I don't remember what that was. I think it was something with Canvas math test, maybe. I don't remember what the name of my Schoolnet assessment was that I just made, but that's okay. So I'm going to give it a name. I'm going to add that item, and then I'm going to want to make sure that I come in here and edit this. And there's a few things to keep in mind when you are creating your Schoolnet assessment in Canvas. You can, of course, still post anything here, like any directions, um, this is a test reviewing these concepts. You could post the standards there if you wanted to. Whatever it is that you want to tell your students about the test, you can still do that. But down here is where we want to take note of a few things. So first thing is right here. If you want your assessment to show in the gradebook when you do grade pass back as the weighted percentage, and what I mean by that is instead of it showing as the student got 4 out of 5 correct, if you wanted it to show as 80%, then what you need to do here is to make sure that you say this is out of 100 points. Okay? And then we're going to keep the assignment group. We're going to display it as points. And right here, our submission type. So this is going to be using an external tool. And then we're going to click Find. and you would scroll down to Schoolnet. There it is. And we're going to load this tool in a new tab. So you want to make sure you check that box. Now, your submission attempts. Let's talk about this for just a second. The student cannot take the Schoolnet assessment more than one time unless you went in and cleared their results. So I would change this from unlimited to limited, that they could only do this one time because they can only take the assessment one time in Schoolnet anyways. So this way, once they submit the test, they can't go back in and try to launch the assignment again, even though it wouldn't let them because they had already submitted it. So this just kind of prevents that from happening. And if you were using the Grade Passback, this is where you would want to sync it to PowerSchool. And you want to make sure to assign it to everyone that's within that course, and then your due dates. So you have a few options here. You can make the due date end sooner than the Schoolnet test window if you wanted to be able to like if you stopped it in Canvas, let's say 2 days before your testing window ended, then you could look in Schoolnet, see who hadn't submitted it yet, and make sure you get those students and let them know that they only have 2 days left to complete the test. Or you could make the due date the same as the end date in Schoolnet. The only thing that you don't want to do is you want to make sure that your due date does not go past your Schoolnet testing window. So if my Schoolnet assessment I said was going to end on Friday, you would not want your due date to be after Friday, because then students would be trying to launch this the following week and it's going to give them an error because the testing window had closed in Schoolnet. So you want to make sure that due date is the same or before. You can also set up the availability to be the same testing window that you set up for Schoolnet, or you could make it shorter if you wanted to, just don't make it longer. Okay. All right, so I'm going to click save. Oh, I have to add a due date, sorry. We'll say the 12th, even though, no, let's do the 20th. Okay, so I'm gonna click save. Okay, and then there is another step that you have to do, and this is where I'm gonna have to hop back to the slide deck, but you're gonna click right here where it says load Canvas math test in a new window, because this is gonna start the linking process. So I'm gonna click here. And this is where you would already be logged into your NC Cloud for being in Canvas. But since I am not allowed to log in this way, that is why mine is coming up like this. So let me go to the slide deck and show you what it's going to look like. We covered that. Yep. Yep. Okay. So once we clicked this, whereas mine came up asking me to log into NCI Cloud. Now this is still from the teacher view. This is still what it's going to look like for you. But the test itself will be the student view. But what I'm showing you currently is what you will see when you are linking the Schoolnet assessment. But once you click that button that I just clicked on and it took me to my NCED Cloud, you would then get a screen that looks like this. Okay, it's going to ask you to permanently link your assignment by entering the assessment passcode. So this is where you wanted to have that code written down or copied, pasted somewhere else, but you would paste that code right here and you would click link. Okay, now you do have the opportunity to review what it's going to look like prior to making this permanent, but just know that once this process is complete and it is linked, that the Schoolnet assessment is permanently linked to the Canvas course, meaning that the students can only take that test in Canvas. They are not able to take it in Schoolnet. If the students tried to take the test in Schoolnet with that passcode, it's going to tell them that a test does not exist. So if a student is ever in another class or in like a study hall period or something, and they're trying to take their Schoolnet assessment in Schoolnet and it gives them that error, just make sure that they are actually going to Canvas to complete the assessment, because that is the only place they can do that, okay? So I would paste my passcode here, click link, and then this is what it's going to look like. It's going to have a preview assessment option where you can click, and it's going to be the view of the test nav in Schoolnet, where it's going to show the tests and what it looks like for the student. It's going to give you the online passcode that you had entered in. It's going to give you the test ID. And just remember, if you ever have an error with a test, this is the number that you would need to give to your Schoolnet lead or to myself if you were asking for assistance. It'll tell you the name of the test, the category, all of that. So you can preview what it's going to look like for the students. But once you are finished with the preview, you like how it looks, you're going to click this blue permanently link assignment. Okay. And again, just remember that once this process is complete, the Schoolnet assessment is permanently linked to the Canvas course. Okay. That is the only place they can take it. And then let me get out of this. So then once the students click on the assessment, let me shrink this back down. When they click on the assessment in Canvas, then this is what it's going to look like. It's going to look the exact same, where they'll start their test and they'll be able to go through the questions just like they would have in Schoolnet, except it will be in Canvas. Okay. I'm checking to see I don't have any questions. Let me go back here. So there are a few things to consider. Not that one, this one. When you are linking your Schoolnet assessments in Canvas, okay? So the first one is an error that comes up a lot if the students have not done this at the beginning of the year. If you solely use Canvas for your Schoolnet assessments, the first time, no matter if they're a new student or you are just going to get started with this process, at some point during the year, the student has to log into Schoolnet first before they log into Canvas. If they log into Canvas first and they've never clicked on that Schoolnet icon that year before, it's going to actually give an error saying that they are not enrolled. Okay. If that happens, if a student in your class clicks on the Schoolnet assessment and it gives them an error that they're not enrolled, all you have to do is have them clear their cache and cookies and all of those things in the browser, log back into their NCED cloud, click on Schoolnet. It's going to load up with their name, and then they can close that out and go straight to Canvas. The reason why it does this is because it has to sync the student to Schoolnet first. So they have to log in that initial time for it to kind of activate them, I guess I'll say, in order for them to be able to take the assessment in Canvas. Okay, so that's the first thing to consider. But a lot of times teachers will take care of this that first day of school. All the homeroom teachers have students log in NCED Cloud, click on Schoolnet, click on Canvas, whatever other apps that you're using in there. But just in case you get a new student and this comes up, just wanted to go ahead and clarify that. Okay, the second one we already mentioned, but just keep in mind that you cannot use Canvas Grade Passback and sync from the Schoolnet assessment. So if you are planning to use this in Canvas, do not click the Sync to PowerTeacher Pro Gradebook in Schoolnet. Just use the Grade Passback feature in Canvas. And we already talked about this as well, but if you are using Grade Passback and you want it to show as a percentage score like this, then you want to make sure that this is out of 100 points. If you don't want it to show as an 8, because I know that sometimes, especially if you use the PowerTeacher Pro gradebook and you don't weight your individual questions, then even though it says 8 out of 18, parents will see an 8 in the gradebook and freak out a little bit. So if you want it to show as that percentage, make sure you do this out of 100 points, okay? Let's see, and then it would show like this, but I believe that was all that I had. Yeah. So I do want to show you right here that on slide 42, there's an option here that says link SchoolNet assessments in Canvas as a QRD. And all that means is it's step by step how to do all of this. The only thing that's different is I do have to update this with a new image right here that it now says use this test within Canvas. But all of the other directions are the same. So wanted you to have this in case you are the type of learner that likes to have this like printed out and sitting beside you while you are working through this, then you do have that option. Again, that is on slide 42, but it is available for you right there. But that is how you link a SchoolNet assessment in Canvas. So today is a little bit of a shorter session, but I'm going to open this time up now for any questions that anyone might have about anything that we talked about so far today. So I'm going to look at the chat, but if anyone has a question, other step by step. Absolutely, Kelly, of course. So let's see here. All right, right here also on slide 42, where it says SchoolNet resources, if you click there, then we have all of these quick reference documents. So they're separated by assessments, just meaning like if you wanted to reuse a SchoolNet assessment from last year, then you could click on these directions right here, and it's going to be a printout for you that goes step by step with pictures for everything. Let me go back to this. Nope, this. There we go. And if you keep scrolling, then it goes from assessments, it goes over basics, it goes over the data reporting that you have in SchoolNet, different items, like if you wanted to create your own items in SchoolNet, the materials that we have available in SchoolNet, and then of course you can scroll down and then all of our webinars and past presentations going all the way back to, I think it's 2019, are all available here for you as well. Let's see, how can I show a student their test on SchoolNet using my computer, not allowing them full access outside of class? Okay, so, oh, and I see, Brenda, I will get to your question. I accidentally skipped over it. All right, how can I show a student their test on SchoolNet using my computer, not allowing them full access? All right, so Jennifer, I just want to make sure I'm understanding this correctly. Are you wanting them to take their test using your computer, or are you wanting them to see their score on your computer? Which one of those are you referring to? Their score, okay. So if you don't want them to have full access outside of class, then what you can do, so of course they would see it in their student profile, but let's see. You can also, so if the test window is still going on, you could go to the Proctor dashboard and the student would show here. You would of course want to block the other students just so they're not seeing their student ID number and name and things like that. But once they completed the test, their score would be here. You also could go, let me go back out of here. You could go to the data collection report and you would have to click on the section that that student is, and you'd be able to go here and see what their responses were as well. And let's see. Oh, I see somebody needs the bit.ly. Let me get that for you. And then I can answer these other questions. That's for the bit.ly. And the questions they missed, okay? So you also can go back here, and if you click on score on the test detail page, then you could go to the individual student and you would be able to show them, here is the question, this is how they answered it. Go to question 2, this is the question, this is how they answered it, etc. So this might be the better option if you are wanting them to see the ones that they missed as well without them going back into their account to do that. But again, you would want to make sure just to hide the other students within the class on the left-hand side. But I think the score button would be the best option, Jennifer. All right, let me go back up. Let's see, Brenda, is there a way to add Schoolnet to the list of submission types if it's not already there? Yes, so Brenda, if you do not see Schoolnet as an external tool in Canvas, let me go back. So for the submission type, if you go to external tool and you go to find, if you do not see Schoolnet here, then that means that your district or charter has not linked it. So you would want to check with your Canvas admin for your district or charter and ask them if they can set up that link between the two programs. It's very simple for them to do. It just has to be set up in order for you to be able to do this. Let's see. I answered that one. And Brenda Swift, want to make sure that you got to the slides. I dropped the bit.ly in there, but just let me know if you were not able to get it. And Tiffany, I did put that one in there. Does the grade appear in Canvas grades? So Bill, if you check this option right here in Canvas, if you check underneath the submission attempts, this sync to PowerSchool, then yes, the grade will appear in Canvas. It'll appear in the grade book and it will look like, oops, this right here. Oops, ooh, where it says in this example, Schoolnet test. It'll be whatever you created the assignment name and it will sync the student's grades if you post or if you check that box in the Canvas assignment to sync to PowerSchool. You're welcome, Brenda and Tiffany and other Brenda. You are welcome. Okay, let's see. All right. I don't see any other questions in the chat. Oh, perfect, Jennifer. Glad that that worked. You're welcome, Bill. So if you do have any other questions, please feel free to put those in the chat. So just have a few more minutes here. I do want to show you one other thing while I'm waiting to see if anybody has any questions. And that is for our next Schoolnet webinar for November. It's going to be November 13th at 3:30, and that is a Schoolnet data dive, which is going to be an entire hour of us talking about all of the data options that you have within Schoolnet. Whether that is just looking at the different data reports or also I think I just confused my wording there. And also just the type of data that you can get from Schoolnet and then some ways that you can use that data as well. And one thing I just thought about, I probably should have posted in here. Hold tight 1 second and let me pull this because if you are in here, then that means that you are probably also using Canvas. And I have our Canvas yearly webinars as well. So I'm actually going to post those in here also. So I just thought about that. I apologize for not thinking about that ahead of time. So I'm going to add that in. Because unfortunately, like Schoolnet, I'm able to post all of our webinars on the splash page, but with Canvas, I really don't have somewhere to post things like this. So I've just posted it in the Google group for Canvas admins, but I know that, excuse me, that does not always get delivered to teachers. So I will post this as well. Oh, I needed to do this as a PDF. Okay, I will fix that after we have concluded for you to be able to click on this link. Um, so actually, let me do this because I want you to be able to do that now. I'm going to link this image. There we go. So now if you click on this slide here, then it should take you to the option of being able to register for the Canvas webinars as well. So our November session for Canvas is going to be Canvas 101, and that's going to be at 4 o'clock, and it is not on the same day as Schoolnet, or it shouldn't be. November 13th, November the 13th. Yep, I did make those on the same day. I'm gonna have to change that. It's supposed to be the day after. So I'll fix that date on there. But thank you all for joining me today for Schoolnet in Canvas. It is a little bit of a shorter session today since the questions that we have already gotten answered. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and get the feedback. I'm going to post this in the chat. So if you are interested in CEUs, you can just click on that link right there, and it's going to ask you to fill out that feedback form. And then at the end, it will ask for your email address that you would like that CEU to be sent to. But again, I appreciate you being with me today for these 45 minutes of using Schoolnet and Canvas, and I hope that it is or it has been helpful. But of course, my email address is on slide 2. Please feel free to reach out to me at any time as you are starting this process, or if your district doesn't already have this connection set up and they have questions, you can share my email address and I'll be happy to help them link Canvas and Schoolnet together so that you can start giving your Schoolnet assessments in Canvas if you wish. But I hope you all have a great rest of your Monday, and I look forward to seeing you in November for our data dive session or for Canvas 101.